All right, we've got the postseason round two recap tonight. We've actually got a pretty special one here because the two fellas that have clinched a spot in the championship matchup, they are both going to be on tonight. How about that? Peter and Sam both going to join. They'll be on at the same time. The first time that we're getting to do that, so that should be nice. I don't know what's going on with the Fox avatar character. It's lagging out. At times, it kind of looks like it's a stroke victim. So pay no mind to that. I'm actually kind of enjoying that it's all sorts of messed up. But let's get into the headline for this week. And one of the things that I didn't dig it too in depth into this, and I haven't been doing that for the headlines lately. Something that struck me just surface level here is that we had big performances from a bunch of guys who had been either very disappointing or moderately disappointing throughout the season. Two of Peter's top three scorers this week, Justin Fields and T. Higgins. Those were guys that at times this year were completely unplayable, but here they are rising to the occasion at the right time. Krieger got the best game of the season from Chris Olave. For Sam, Justin Jefferson, right? And Jefferson missed all that time with injury, but he's back and healthy now and delivering in the playoffs. For Nordiff, is Lamar Jackson, has he been disappointing for fantasy? Maybe a tad, based on where he was drafted, just because he had that down stretch in the middle of the season. But Lamar has turned it back on lately. And then over on the last place side of things, for Andrew Bijan Robinson, big game. It was largely aided by pass catching. I think he caught 6 or 7 passes against the Colts. And how about Lohan, too? Highest scoring team in the league, greatly aided by Calvin Ridley, one of his best games of the year, and James Conner, who has come back recently and been pretty damn good. I mean, James Conner, pass catching is finally back. Connor came back a while ago. I don't know why I said recently. It's since the bye that he's been pretty damn good. 2 games in a row. I'm losing my mind a little bit, as you can tell. But yeah, Connor 17.9 in 3 straight. So anyway, that's sort of the thing that stuck out to me was semi-disappointing players or very disappointing players delivering in a playoff round. And so let's get into the matchups now. Let's allow Peter and Sam to join. Sam is in. Peter is in. Here we go.
Hello.
Oh wow. Hello.
Hello, hello. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, same to you. Do you like this background here?
I do. That looks very cozy.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
This is like
Yeah, we got you,
the
Sam.
ideal setting. Yep, Sam, you're here.
Thanks. I'm in the dark.
Hey, I love being in the
Evidently.
dark.
I'm out in the dark with Sahas and Rishi right now.
It's fantastic.
What's up, Jake?
Hello.
Dude, this is the whole league.
I know,
Don't talk.
I thought it was just
Yeah,
Jake.
control them.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No one said hello to me.
Yeah,
You want
really.
to do Pete's matchup first?
Peter?
I'll mute myself
Hello,
here.
Peter.
Sahas says hi,
Yeah.
Pete.
Yeah, we'll do Peter's first.
All right.
First off, congrats to both of you on great wins and really good performances from your teams as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Peter wins 151.18 to 122.47. This was some craziness in both of these matchups, but this one, man, there are layers to this just because from Peter's perspective, ceiling had not been part of your season. And then you get the ultimate ceiling performance here in the semis. And it starts with matchup MVP, weekly MVP, Breece Hall. We talk about him giving you 43.1 here.
Yeah, I told you this the other night. In your weekly summary, I've only showed up one time the whole year is just like a testament to how pedestrian my team has been all year. I just haven't had the highs or the lows really. I've just been sitting in the middle with
It's true.
my high floor. And you know, Brees Hall's like that ceiling I was waiting for. And I'm sure like I mean I didn't it was a crazy game cast to follow along to without having watched it, just to see like his name pop up every play is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, he caught 12 passes.
Yeah, like 16 targets or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I mean down the
Yeah.
stretch late in that game when they were when they had to rally at the very end to salvage what would have been a terrible loss, he was getting targeted damn near every play. I mean,
Yeah.
it was all him. And it was wild. I mean, it was just wild to see. And the pass catching, I've said it before on here, it's been ridiculous for him. He's what do we have here? 14, 21, 34 catches over the last 5 weeks. He's averaging 7 catches per game over the last 5. I mean, that's just
Dang.
absurd.
Yeah, it sustained him for sure. For sure. Because he rushes like 12 yards a game usually.
Yeah, well, that was the one difference, and that's what allowed this to be a huge performance. Was he had 95 yards and 2 scores on the ground, which had not been part of him for the last couple of months. But another thing too, talked about it at the end of the regular season. I said your team had been basically what I said was I didn't look at your team and say, wow, everyone's overperforming. It was the opposite. A bunch of guys were underperforming. And if guys could put it together at the right time, there was another gear here. And it happened. Fields and Higgins, who at times this year were unplayable, combined to score over 50 points. You didn't get the huge game out of Travis Kelce. That's the other of those kind of 3 guys that you want to wake up, but 2 of the 3 did. And here you are. It's if T. Higgins gives you another good game this week and you win that matchup, you'll forgive all of the bullshit from the first 3 months of the season.
Yeah, I mean, this is the blueprint for this week. You know, I mean, 43 isn't the blueprint, but if some of that can get spread to Kelce, like you're right. Like I need some of those high potential guys to show up. Like I need that against a team like Sam's.
Oh, absolutely. And Tony Pollard only scored 5.3 this week. So there's room.
And he's been good. And he
has
kind of ran into a wall the last week or 2 weeks. I can't remember. Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, but he had turned it back on. So I mean, if you get 10 to 15 more out of him, you get 10 more out of Kelce. Yeah, you're not going to get 43 out of Brees Hall again, but scoring 150 again is not unfathomable, and it might be what you need to do.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, this went about as well as you could ask for. You mentioned that you had only shown up on those weekly award kind of things once. You had one best start, no weekly MVPs, no best ads, and this week you had the weekly MVP, and you also had the best start, which was Gus Edwards over Terry McLaurin. And it gained you 6 points. That was not an easy decision to make because McLaurin was coming off of a great game, sat him in a tough matchup, and it worked out. And even Smith and Jigba, that was also going with him over McLaurin, worked out for 4 points as well.
Yeah, I've had some decent breaks in the playoffs here, with like what's his name? With Brian Robinson getting hurt, Jamar Chase getting hurt, Mitchell getting hurt on the Ravens. So, you know, I've been lucky to take advantage in just about every case.
Yeah, you're right. It's a good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Some guys are in more elevated roles than they had been in. And let's also remember here, Michael Pittman didn't play again. So that's a guy that you should have this week. He did clear protocol this past week before symptoms flared back up.
It's wild.
It is, yeah. It's
The
it
symptoms.
was unfortunate to say the least for the Colts, but you would hope that he's back, and if that's the case, again, that's yet another guy who could give you 20 to 25 points. So we'll see. Now we'll shift over to Krieger now, and there's just one, big headline with this, and it's, you got to get it out of the way right away. And it's the fact that a 51.5-point performance was left on the bench. And, yeah, I mean, there's no kind of beating around this, that it'd be hard to imagine there's ever been a worse sit in the history of this league.
Definitely not.
Terrible. Yeah, just the magnitude and the moment and the last secondness of it is crazy.
You can't blame a guy for putting his faith in Mason Rudolph, though, right?
Hey, well, Mason delivered for George Pickens.
Yeah,
somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just so. I'd be, if I was him, I'd be in a real bad place.
Be on the edge of the bridge
there would be
now.
There'd be no weekly recap this week if I was Krieger. This is horrid. Cost you the matchup. And you set the other thing too, like, this was an all-time performance. This is one of those we'd be talking about. Remember when Amari Cooper went for 51? We'd be talking about that shit for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, especially
and all,
this
Krieger
game was
traded for him.
Was this a Saturday night game?
Deontay played Saturday evening.
Oh, that's right.
Cooper was Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, the trade for Cooper, you'd be talking about, like, what a trade, what a start. And instead it's just devastation.
And it really overshadows, like, what was a pretty good day for Krieger too. I mean,
I know
my defense and kicker advantage was like 16.
Yeah.
So
he got negative points combined out of those two spots.
You even that out, and he's right there.
Yeah, it's
without
10-point. Yeah, exactly. I mean, pretty much everybody else except for defense, kicker, and Deontay Johnson, everyone else gave you exactly what you're hoping for.
Yeah.
Quietly, big game out of McCaffrey. Chris Olave, it was his top score of the season, 23.3. Rashad White was good. The other thing too, Isaiah Pacheco went out with a concussion in that game. I think I wasn't watching that too closely, so I don't know when it was, but I think it was early-ish.
Did you see the injury?
No.
His helmet popped off while he was getting tackled, and he just got a knee to the head. Just straight to the head.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And do you know when it was in the game that happened?
It was like probably mid third quarter.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, you lost maybe 5-ish points there. George Kittle
had some nice plays.
George Kittle, I mean, he came out just red hot. I think he had like a 50-yard reception on the second play of the game, and he delivered. Yeah. It was a good week for Krieger outside of a horrible decision and the two kind of luck spots. And, Green Bay giving you negative 1.48 against Carolina is what can you even say about that? That's nonsense.
Yeah.
But that is the risk. You do run that risk when you start a shit defense, even in a great matchup. Sometimes they just fall flat. But yeah, I mean, this was a hell of a win for you. I didn't see really any world where you were going to win this matchup, and here we are. You're marching on with a team that I would imagine at no point this year did you think you were going to make it to the final with this team.
I didn't. Yeah, especially when it was evident that Kelsey was not going to wake up, and
Mhm.
Higgins was just, in just spiraling,
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd be sitting here talking to you right now.
No, but here you are, and it just speaks volumes to that idea that, if you just get your way into the playoffs, anything could happen in these 1 week scenarios, and
Yeah.
guys can start putting it together. Especially they're good players that you had. T. Higgins is a really good receiver. Like, it would have been insane for him to continue being dog shit. And fortunately for you, you've been able to reap the rewards of the turnaround. It didn't happen too late. Let's move over to Sam now, if he's ready.
Yeah, I'm ready to roll, baby.
Sam wins 129.47 to 118.86. We'll give
Highest scoring team. Rip to the highest scoring team.
the
Just a shame how it happens like that.
The two highest scoring teams gone this week, and the 3 19-9 teams they combined to win no playoff matchups this year. Another little factoid, I'm gonna just I have a bunch of them. Oh no, you're lagging. You might be gone. But the other thing I was going to say, that teams with a first round bye over the last 4 seasons, which is the 12-team era of the league, combined record of 3-8, no titles. 5 of the 8 teams have gone one and done. So it's pretty wild that having a first round bye is seemingly just a curse. But yeah, here we are. And Peter also, he supplied me with this one last night. If Sam wins the league in 6 days' time, it would be the 4th straight year that the champion has a standard record under 500. And I mean, that's just, it's nuts. Sam, are you here?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, now you're back.
Yeah. Sorry, I was on my road. I was gonna say that I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but we've definitely talked about in the past how like it seems like the teams that win a lot are like me and Peter's team, where you just kind of squeak in. If a team goes like 12-4, I guess in the old type of schedule, I feel like you're due for your luck to run out or something. Guy gets hurt or something like that.
I really think that there's something to that, especially because we, at this point with the quality of the league, like it's been a long time since we've had a team that you look at and just say, oh, wow, fuck, that team's just fucking way better than everybody's. So yeah, when nobody is too much better than anyone else, yeah, I think there is something to, like, you're eventually due to fail a little bit.
Yeah.
And it catches up with you.
You even see it with the bad teams, how like Lohan's team going off, or like teams
Right.
that, I mean, if the season was just 17 weeks of regular season, for the most part, we'll all average out.
Yeah. Yeah. And Colin, right? He got off to that horrid start, and then he had a great month. Like,
yep.
Basically every team except Andrew's, sorry, Andrew, has had at least some kind of 3 or 4 week stretch where they've been pretty damn good. And for you guys, it's happening right now.
It's so hard to do it for 14 weeks, say, and get like 14 wins.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it's feels damn near impossible. We'll give the matchup MVP to your team, to Justin Jefferson, 26.1. It was crazy way that he got to his 26 points. He didn't do. It was really based off of like 2 drives. He had a possession where he caught 3 or 4 passes and a touchdown, and then he had that late possession where he had one of the best catches I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Keep the game alive, and I think he had another reception on that drive as well. So he had his 26 points. I'd say 22 of them came on like 2 drives combined. Josh Allen, he was really good. It was another
Allen was
rushing touchdown
huge.
for him.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that he got those 2 rushing touchdowns
2.
with Cook on the other side too.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's the thing. Like Cook, and we'll get into that in a second. Cook, devastating for Nordiff. Josh Allen up to 13 rushing touchdowns this year. Him and Jalen Hurts, that's the edge that the rushing scores from those guys, it's just absurd. Kyron Williams, he was banged up, and he ceded, I want to say, a little bit more work to Ronnie Rivers than normal, but he was able to find his way into the end zone, and he gave a quality game as well.
I love that guy. I texted Matt, I think maybe it was Saturday, that just it's crazy how Kyron Williams, like he got 16 and I was like, damn.
Yeah, it's
disappointing. It was just like a clean 100 yards and a tutty. Like what more could you ask for? And I was like, man.
You want more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny when, guys are so great that you're like counting on them to go off. Chuba Hubbard was, I really liked this start. Josh Jacobs, didn't know what was going on with him.
Yeah, I honestly think if they ruled him out, Zamir versus Chuba would have been kind of tough. But the fact that it was up in the air, I just kind of figured, well, maybe he might play and it's going to be like a split or something.
Yeah.
And Chuba's playing against the Packers, so I went with that. But if they just ruled Jacobs out, I would have had a tough decision going White or Chuba.
Yeah, that makes sense because White, he had a really nice game last week.
Yeah, he did again. He had 145 yards.
Wow, Jesus. Yeah, I didn't I really didn't pay attention to that game. Yeah, he didn't catch a pass. Yeah. He didn't get into the end zone. That is crazy.
Just 14.5 on 145 yards.
Huh. Yeah, that's like a Nick Chubb type game.
Yeah.
But Chuba Hubbard's been really good. Just kind of quietly, really good running back too.
Yeah, I think probably, I don't know if they changed today now, like the player rankings or whatever, but he's got to be around like 20.
26.
Yeah.
And that's with, early on, he had to deal with Miles Sanders, but since he's been the guy, it's probably closer to 15 at the position.
Yeah. No, he's been great.
Now, the rest of the team wasn't the best. Jalen Waddle went out with injury and unfortunately might miss this week.
So I was actually talking to Kane about just, how you take 2 to 3 things away from your team every year, where going into the next year, you're like, I love Tyreek Hill, and I still do from that first time I had him. Things like that. Definitely one of mine this year is Waddle's such a bitch. Oh my God. He gets
banged up a ton.
Like every week, it's something. If he stays in the game, he leaves to the blue tent for a little bit.
It's amazing. I've noticed that too. Like he gets injured every week.
Yeah, so I'm out on him.
Fair enough.
If I don't know. I don't think he'll be getting the start, which I don't think he'll be playing. But either way, I don't think he'd be starting for me in the big one.
Yeah, and I can't really blame you. Like, he had that massive game last week, and that was because Hill was out. But when Hill is there, it's just Waddle's good, and he has the ability to go off for a huge play at any time. But it's their offense runs through Tyreek Hill and then Mostert around the goal line, who scores 3 touchdowns every week.
Yeah.
The other big thing here was Younghoe Koo, 19 points. That's massive. You can't really overstate how huge that is. You picked him back up. He had been your guy for a while. You went away from him last week, got him back, and he delivered in a huge way. Now, he missed his first field goal attempt of the game, but some fuck lined up offside for the Colts.
Wow.
Yeah, and it extended the drive, and that ultimately led to a chip shot field goal a few plays later. He had missed one from, it was like 49, I think.
Wow, I missed
And
that.
yeah. Yeah, he banged it off the upright. But the guy was offside. And then he ended up, it might have only been 20 to 25 yards what he ended up making. So that was a 4-point swing. It didn't change the matchup, but it was able to get Koo in like a good mental spot because he had been coming off of a few rough games. What had he gone, like 1 for 4 or something over the previous 2? I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
But he delivered here, 5 for 5 field goal attempts. And, I've said it on here that this is just a really good team. That the only reason this team wasn't dominant in the regular season is because it was ravaged by injury, just absolutely ravaged. And
yeah, I keep thinking back to when Dylan was on the podcast ranking teams and saying how good teams are and just being like, well, yeah, I'm not counting who he has on his team. I'm just counting who he has healthy. Well, Dylan, you know what? Either way, I'm making out with 260 now, so
well, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I mean, there were times you looked dead. I mean, you thought you were dead at a point. I thought you were dead with 3 weeks to go. I don't remember exactly what your record was at that point, but I thought you were dead with 3 weeks to go, but you finished 5-1 and you got in. And
I don't think I've played a non-playoff team in 5 weeks, 4 weeks.
Well, yeah, it would have only been Andrew mixed in there, but yeah, me, Dylan, and then the 2 playoff, me again, and Nordiff. And I don't know who you played at the end of the non-divisional. I think you had Nordiff and Krieger late. That was why I thought you were fucked at a different point, but I wasn't willing to count you out.
It's because we're battle tested, my squad.
But I mean,
Matty Knopf's
wild.
fucking soft ass squad was putting up the most points all year, but they were just waiting to crumble at the sight of, they're like the who are they like? Who's a good team like that? I'm trying
The
to
Ravens
think. The
are kind of
Cowboys.
like that. The
Cowboys,
yeah.
the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Peak tour.
Yeah.
Team shit's grinders, man. We're grinders.
Yeah, I mean, if anything was learned, it was, if you have a chance to put team shit down, you got to put team shit down. You can't let team shit hang around because it's not going to be pretty. And that's what's happened here. We'll shift over to Nordiff now, and this is actually not a terrible performance. It looked like it was going to be, but then he got some, Ezekiel Elliott.
There was a moment in the Ravens-Niners game when Lamar threw a touchdown second half.
Yeah.
And then Purdy threw a pick and Lamar threw another touchdown. And I only had it on in the background. And I was like, that was a replay, right? That was a replay. And then I just see their score go to 33. And I was like, Jesus, fuck. I checked fantasy and Matt went from 2% to like 15%. There was still, I think there was still 11 minutes left in the third quarter, and Matt was down 11 points. And I was like, fuck me.
I know. Yeah. And actually, too, after that point, when Matt was down like 11, which is what he ended up losing by, Lamar Jackson, 3rd and goal from like the 1, they ran a quarterback draw. And
yeah,
if he had gotten in, Matt would have been projected to win at that point.
Yeah.
But he didn't. They stuffed it. They kicked the field goal. And then from that point, game script was pretty devastating.
I got to the point, sadly, where I was like hoping that the Niners would just keep getting shit on.
Yeah. Yeah. And fortunately for you, they had built up a big enough lead that Lamar Jackson basically did nothing after that third and goal draw play. So I actually I texted Peter this because I had noticed that how close it would have been if he had gotten in there. I said, like, Nordiff was saved what would have been a pretty gut-wrenching loss, because you would have had, you're thinking the whole time, I have no chance. And then if he had run that in there, it would have been like, holy shit, this is going to happen. So at least he was saved what would have been like the ultimate false hope loss.
Yeah.
Really, the reason Matt lost this matchup was the running backs.
Yeah.
You get 11.1 combined out of them. That's terrible. And
yeah, I don't know what ETN is gonna like finish the year as, because I feel like he started out the year as like a top 3 running back, but
yeah, he's currently still 4.
That's crazy, because I feel like I haven't heard much from him in weeks.
Yeah, well, what it was he had a 4-week stretch. He scored 7 touchdowns, weeks 5 through 8.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was amazing. And outside of that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, 10.2 or less. That's he's been really good or really bad most of the year. And so, yeah, you're going to look back on it and say, wow, he was a top 5 running back. God, what a year. But in reality, it was a very annoying way that he got there. And James Cook, similar. James Cook at times this year was horrid. This was his 5th game in single digits. But then there had been other times, like, he was coming off of 4 straight games of 16 plus. So really weird seasons for both of them. And just got done talking about it with Peter. Fields and Higgins, they had their boom games at the right time. For Nordiff, it was the opposite here with ETN and Cook. And of course, too, Keenan Allen being out, that hurts. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't like devastating, because the guys he ended up having to play instead, like Ezekiel Elliott, gives you 21. So that worked out. And Chris Godwin, 13.9. It'd be one thing if it was like, oh, wow, Godwin only scored 5. And that was clearly the difference, not having Allen. But I don't think that was the case. It was just unfortunate that he wasn't there the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I texted Maddie when I saw that he was out. We had both texted before that, looking at the kind of full strength rosters, because Jacobs had his projection out there still. So it was like 140 to 139, 50-50. And it just was really pleasing to the eye to see such like a battle of titans.
Oh yeah. I know. I see what you mean now. Yeah, God, I mean, these were 2 really good teams. And Matt had a great year. He really did. I thought he was, for a while, I thought he was going to win the league. I had obviously picked you on here last week, Sam, just because your team is better at this point, and I did figure Allen would be out. I also thought Josh Jacobs would play. I was surprised that he didn't. But yeah, these were 2 great teams. And hey, Krieger's team was great too. So, it is what it is. And we got our championship matchup set. So let's move into that now, and then you guys can go, and I'll finish the rest of this silliness. But this is the 2 of you. So I accumulated my little stats and facts for this. The 2 of you have a combined 11 title game appearances, which is really, really remarkable. Sam, this is his 6th. Peter, it's his 5th. This is a rematch of the 2016 title game.
I did see that. I started looking through them because I remember me and Pete played in one.
Yep. Yeah, Sam won that 135 to 117. Back when we didn't have decimals.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, obviously Sam right now has the 4 titles. No one else has more than 2. You've kind of entered, I'd put you like Tom Brady of this league. Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, whatever you want to, whoever you want to go with.
Yeah, I
And
like that a lot. I like that a lot, Jake, and I'd love to make sure Dylan hears this.
I mean, it's just the truth. You gotta be honest. And hey, we know that there's some luck involved in this stuff, but it's not luck when you it's not luck when you do it as much as you have. Yeah, is it a little crazy that your teams come together in the playoffs every year? A little bit, but you also have to put yourself in a position to be able to benefit from that, and you do that. So
that classic team shit luck, man. That classic team shit luck.
And there again, yeah, there is luck involved, but I don't want it to like it's not anybody who says it's all luck. This game is not all luck. There's a reason that the same people do well. It's not all luck. There is certainly luck involved. And hey, on the other end of this, and I'll mention this again when we get to it, Lerrar and Andrew facing off in the last place game. 4th time in 7 years Lerrar has been in that. 3rd time in 7 years that Andrew has been. So
damn,
it's
wow.
It actually reminds me, it's classic for me to make this analogy, but it really reminds me of poker, where yeah, there are luck elements, but same people do well, and that's because there's also a skill element to it. So I guess we'll see how it goes. Obviously, Sam comes into this as like an 18-point projected favorite. I think mostly everybody would pick Sam to win, but this is not some foregone conclusion. We just saw Peter's team score 150. Peter would have beaten Sam this week by 21 if they were facing off. So anything can happen, and Peter's going to need another. He's going to need those guys to show up. That's a big question, right? With Jamar Chase.
Yeah, we'll see.
I do really like T. I could see him going off against me, but I also kind of feel like Brees is going to have a bit of a shitter after last week.
And really tough matchup against Cleveland. Kelsey has Cincinnati. Yeah, Pollard.
I got a lot of tough matchups.
Yeah, Detroit's tough matchup for a running back.
Pollard's got to be due, man. After that one that's like all over Instagram where he's like half over the goal line.
Oh yeah,
like the ball is just not in.
He had a pretty good month before these last 2 weeks too. He's just catching more passes and stuff. He's got 10 receiving yards the last 2 weeks. So
the Dallas offense has just been bad the last 2 weeks.
But they're at home. They're at home this week, which is helpful. I think a really interesting headline going into this that just kind of shows how you can get here in different ways. My team, my like projected lineup, with the exception of kicker, is the same starting lineup that I drafted.
Wow.
Whereas Sam's team, you look at who he has in there right now, and it's, Kyron, free agent, Jacobs trade.
Was a late round pick, Kyron.
All right, fair.
13th, but
I take it back. Rice
certainly
pickup,
starter.
Laporta pickup, Hubbard pickup. So
yeah, that's interesting.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, the guys that Sam drafted early, right? It was obviously Josh Allen is starting, but Waddle almost certainly isn't going to be in there. George Kittle was traded. Javonte Williams isn't going to be in there. Rashad White was traded. So, yeah, that's interesting to look at. But I'm going to let you guys go now, and good luck to both of you. And on my end, I just hope that it's a close one and that it comes down to the end.
Yes.
Playing with house money at this point, so gonna just enjoy it.
That's a bit how I feel. It felt like last week I really wanted to win.
Mm-hmm.
And now that at least we get some money, I texted you, Jake. I was like, second place gets money, right?
Yeah.
Playing with
Yeah.
house money.
And
Yeah.
I mean, second place, if
Either legendary status.
second place probably gets more money than you won, Sam, the last time we faced off for this championship. So
probably, yeah, probably.
Good
It was probably like a
point.
$10 buy-in back then.
Plus,
10
I'm gonna have
20.
to pay Graz for this ticket.
No, we'll see. We'll see.
Graz, plus I'm gonna have to pay you for this pick. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still tight. That's not over yet. Krieger did have a bad week.
Yeah,
Sad for him.
I don't mean to digress. Peter, best of luck to the league, the rest of the league. Or Jake, sorry, thank you for being a great commissioner. Almost forgot about that. You're tremendous, best in the business. The rest of the league, pretty much peasants. Yeah, peasants. Can't think of anyone else I want to single out. Yeah. Salute. Hopefully next time I'm on here, I don't have 5 for your guys' sake.
Yeah, and the winner will be on next week, whoever it is. So prepare yourself for that. If you win, you're coming back on.
I got to get my tuxedo ready.
Okay. All right.
Take care.
See ya. All right. Well, that was really good to have both of those guys on. I mentioned it. To me, those two have accomplished the most in this league. Sam, obviously, I mean, it's a runaway that he's the most accomplished in the league, but Peter he's number 2 there. He's almost always in the playoffs. 5th title game appearance is a remarkable accomplishment. He's had some bad luck in those title games. Obviously, he's 1-3 in them, but to get there it means something, and it should be celebrated. So, yeah, this is a battle of 2 just really, really good fantasy football managers, and we'll see how it goes. Now, I'm not going to take a ton of time to do the rest of these matchups. I'm not even going to touch on the 5th and 7th placed ones, other than just saying, first off, the 5th place one, and again, 5th and 7th place, those are 2-week long matchups. Dylan, 2 weeks, aggregate of scores, 2 weeks. So it's not over yet, but yeah, horrible, just a disgusting matchup between me and Dylan. 103.34 to 97.59. He ends up with a nearly 6-point lead going into week 2. My team's bad at this point. It's I don't really know what to say. Stephon Diggs, horrid. 5 out of 6 games, single digits. So that's kind of the face of my team at this point. Stephon Diggs falling to shit after he was amazing. That's the story of my season. As for Dylan, hey, let's give Dylan his credit for the Joe Flacco move. That was fun times. 28.5 from him. He outscored Mahomes. And Boston Scott was a disaster. Dylan thought, because Boston Scott had scored a touchdown against the Giants. I don't know, like 10 straight games. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was going on forever, for years. Even when Boston Scott wasn't a part of their team, really, he'd somehow find a way to score against the Giants. But it was a nightmare. Yesterday, -1.7. Those are the 2 things that stick out to me for Dylan's side. And yeah, we'll see who wins 5th place, which is, about as meaningless as it gets. Mecca gets out to a 25-point advantage, 128.77 to 103.31 over Horvath. For Mecca, Mike Evans, great game. Devontae Adams, Jesus, 1.4. Again, I didn't follow this game. He had 1 catch? Like, what the fuck? You know what I did? I did catch a little bit, and the Raiders essentially did not throw the ball yesterday. So I guess that's part of it. But still, 1 catch on 6 targets. That's pathetic. Pathetic for Aiden O'Connell. Derrick Henry had a good game. I believe he threw a touchdown pass. Puka Nacua was amazing last Thursday. 33 points. What a year he's had. He had that kind of down stretch middle of the season, 7.3 or less, 4 out of 6 games. But God, has he been amazing outside of that stretch, both early and late in the year. Mike Evans, big game. As for Horvath, not much to look at here. David Njoku. You could say it both ways. I think Njoku is the accepted pronunciation, but I've long said Njoku. But Njoku will go with, because I think it's right. He scored again. Him and Joe Flacco. Just a money combination. Chris Rodriguez Jr., what a great start by Horvath. And this was a guy that if my season was still relevant, he was someone I was going to try to pick up and just stash. Simply because Antonio Gibson, we know he's not a great pure running back. And so with Brian Robinson out, I figured Rodriguez would get some looks, and he ends up with 10 carries here, scoring the 2 touchdowns. Sure, Chris Rodriguez, he probably won some people playoff matchups this week, those who were desperate enough to have to start him. Rest of Horvath's team was pretty unremarkable, but yeah, we'll see, obviously who comes in 7th there. And then we got 2 matchups left. It's those in the last place side of things. Klingman avoids last, 118.53 to 85.85, defeating Larar. Good to see Colin get out of here. He didn't deserve to come in last place. I said all year I thought his team was better than it performed to be. And yeah, I think he deserved to get out of that spot. Jahmyr Gibbs had a good game. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be awesome for a long time. Be interested to see where he gets drafted next year. Montgomery will still be around, and that's going to be pesky. But Jahmyr Gibbs is a special athlete, and do you dare take him like early 2nd round? I bet you that's where he's going to end up going. Could be great, could be annoying, but he's been pretty damn good since he got injured early in the year. When he came back from that injury, it's been awesome since then. There's no other way to put it. 6 out of 9 games over 20 points since then, dating back to week 7. And yeah, he's all the way up to running back 6 on the year. Damn it. Early 2nd, he might be a 1st round pick. That's going to be a very interesting one draft season next year. CeeDee Lamb, big game. And the rest of Collins' team was fine. Baker Mayfield, good job in a spot start. 22.65. Type of guy that maybe I should have looked into grabbing when I lost Justin Herbert. So yeah, Colin avoids having to deal with playing this week. And for Larar, it was just awful. Just an awful week for him. Nobody really performed. Dalton Schultz at 14.1. That was the best performance on the team, essentially. Jared Goff about 17. But God, Mixon, Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, all 10.3 or less. Jamar Chase was out. It couldn't have gone worse. That's why he didn't even crack 90. And so Larar's team, and one of the things, that we talked about when Peter and Sam were on here, basically everybody had a stretch at some point this year. Larar had that stretch too. There was a point, looked like Larar was going to make the playoffs. He started out really poorly. Then he really hit his stride and he was in a good spot. But Larar, the last few weeks, it has been ugly. And he's at risk of finishing in last place. And then finally, Lohan, who was the highest scoring team of the week, 162.21 to 119.62. Lohan, the victor here. Good game from Hurts. Calvin Ridley, already said that. He picked a hell of a time to deliver, didn't he? He had been coming off of 3 straight games in single digits. What a roller coaster this Calvin Ridley season has been. What do we have here? 8 games in single digits and 6 games of 20 plus, or is it 5? It's 5. So 5 of 20 plus, 8 single digits. That is just so incredibly inconsistent. But he came through in a big moment. Zay Flowers, too. Great game from him. James Conner, great game from him. Those 3 guys all went over 20, and those were guys who at times this year you didn't want to have in your lineup. Saquon Barkley, he performed 19.4. And Lohan survives losing TJ Hawkinson to a season-ending injury. He tore up his knee, sadly, after what was a fantastic year. And he really was the best tight end in the NFL this season, at least from a pass-catching standpoint. For Andrew, this was a pretty good week. And he had to start 2 randoms. Roschon Johnson, you throw him in. He got 8.3. That's about all you could ask for. Dontavian Wicks, what a decision to start him. He was coming off of a good game and some higher involvement in recent weeks. 13 combined targets, weeks 14 and 15. Andrew slots him into the lineup, and he scored an early touchdown, but then unfortunately went out with injury on that touchdown catch. It was late in the first half, and that was a shame because it could have turned out to be a great start. It's not like it would have mattered with Lohan having such a big performance, but yeah, Andrew, hey, let's give him credit because that's not an easy start to make, and it turned out pretty good despite the fact that he only got a half of play out of Wicks. Matt Stafford, big game. This was one of the best performances Andrew's gotten out of quarterback all year. 24 points from Stafford. Amon-Ra St. Brown, fantastic. Bijan Robinson was really good. Already talked about him. Let's get the exact number. It was 7 catches for 50 yards. That was a big part of his value in this game, and he just looked really good too. The Colts couldn't stop Atlanta. Tyler Algier was effective as well. He had a long touchdown run in the game. And Cordero Patterson had a couple of big plays too. It was all working for the Falcons in that game. So yeah, Andrew, he gets defeated here despite a decent performance. And sets up Lerar versus Andrew. Already said it. 4th time in 7 years, Lerar is in this last place game. 3rd time in 7 for Andrew. Lerar has finished last once. Andrew has finished last twice. And you see what happens there. Jamar Chase, something big to watch for sure. Is he going to play? Lerar, I kind of feel like he needs him. Andrew has some injuries as well. Alexander Madison, I think he's considered day-to-day right now. If you're Andrew, what do you do at that running back 2 spot? You've got Roschon Johnson, Madison if he plays. Do you dare start? Madison actually might not be injured. He might have just it looks like he just didn't really play. Only 2 carries. Okay, yeah. And you know what? Ty Chandler's better than him. So Madison shouldn't play. But do you dare start Tyler Algier? Do you dare start both Atlanta running backs? I mean, that's got to be at least somewhat of a consideration. Kareem Hunt, Zach Moss, if he plays. I think I already said that. Yeah, it's not going to be an easy call. It's not going to be an easy call at all for Andrew at that running back 2 spot. But see what he does and finishes in last. In all honesty, Andrew deserves to come in last. He's had the worst team all year. And I don't say that to be a prick. It's the truth. And I would hope that he could agree. Before I wrap it up, we'll do the power rankings for the week. Is there anything else that I wanted to, no. Sam moves up to 1. He was 3rd. He moves up to 1st. And then Krieger and Nordiff fall a spot each to 2 and 3. Peter jumps up a slot from 5th to 4th. Dylan from 6th to 5th. I go down I believe, to the lowest I've been all year, dropping from 4th to 6th. Team's at its AirPod disconnected. You hate to see that. Yeah, I don't know where I cut out, but what I said was I'm 6th now and all year, and it's where I deserve to be. Mecca and Horvath switch spots. It was Horvath 7, Mecca 8. Now it's Mecca 7, Horvath 8. And then Lohan through Andrew 9, 10, 11, 12. Lohan, Colin, Larar, Andrew. That stays the same as it was a week ago. Okay, we got 1 week left. My plan for the end of these is next week we will do the week. It'll be postseason round 3 recap where I'll have hopefully the league winner on. And we'll talk about the final matchups of the season, maybe give just some final takeaways on everyone's season and teams. And then there's going to be an additional one of these that I do alone that will be postseason awards and maybe further takeaways from the season. But yeah, we got a week left, and we have a championship matchup that almost nobody could have predicted a month ago. Sam's team was really kind of dead in the water. Peter's team had been so mediocre. It didn't look like either of them were going to be here. And here we are. And this is kind of the way it turns out every year. The only thing is this is a little different because Sam's team really, at full strength, that is the best team this year. It's just that we didn't know if he was going to be able to get back to this point alive. He did. And now he's the favorite to win the league for a 5th time. But Peter is going to have something to say about that. His team's clicking at the right time. He's got good players. Can Travis Kelce give one last vintage performance? I feel like that might be the difference. But all right, we'll see how things play out. See you in a week.